What will happen on the 8th anniversary of the Revelation 12 sign, resurrecting the September 23rd doomsday prophecy in 2025? It's now 2025, and things we used to speculate about decades ago are now a reality. Pandemics, economic downturn, wars, and violence are now become a new normal, Oppenheimer style. The talk of nuclear conflict no longer amazes or terrifies anyone, thanks to desensitization. Paddling back 10 years ago to 2015, when there was a prediction that the world was going to end on September 23rd, 2015, which was a doomsday date picked up in movies through predictive programming. Fast forward 2 years later, there's a biblical end-time sign that appeared in the sky on the same date, September 23rd, 2017. Most people thought, all right, this is it. December 2017 comes along, Christmas is celebrated, but nothing major happens. The scoffers get to win again, whilst others get weary of their failed predictions. To be honest, at that time, 2015/2017, there was nothing so major that stood out pointing to a soon apocalypse. There were no serious wars, nor a pandemic yet. Trust me, I would have been part of the scoffers. If I was matured enough at that time to know what was going on, I was 16 at the time, and was only focused on the things of this world and my school stuff, and could care less about what was afoot in those days.
Fast forward 3 years. There's a pandemic. The world as we know it had changed. There was something called a lockdown. Never heard and experienced anything of such in my life. But before it came around, I had grown in knowledge and age and knew something was afoot. In December 2019, when I heard the rumors of how fast the pandemic was spreading, I was more intrigued than ever to see what was going to happen in a few months in terms of relative normalcy and the trajectory of my education. At that time, at age 18, with just about 4 months left to write my final exam to complete high school, I felt something bad in the air knowing things were not going to go as planned. So in February of 2020, being abreast with the rumors of alleged death in other countries due to the virus, I started skipping mock exams and classes, knowing ahead of time that there was no way schools will be operating if these cases got worse. Fast forward 1 month. On a fine Sunday evening on the 15th of March, 9 p.m., Greenwich Meridian Time, the president of our country announced through media channels that all school activities, religious events, and other gatherings were to be halted. Until further notice, other institutions were to go on a break for a month with the exception of frontline workers. A young me was excited about the lockdown because I knew ahead of time and even copied computer games from a mate before it had happened. At long last, we have gotten the vacation we so deserved. Haven't been to school waking up 5 times a week at 4 a.m. for the past 15 years of my childhood life just to get ready for school. That time felt over. Hooray! Fast forward 4 months later, the further notice had been given. Schools had partially resumed with a new dress code, the old uniform and a Pampers on my face. Can't believe this even happened. Fast forward 2022, the world as we know it was burdened with unprecedented natural disasters and catastrophes. Russia, a nuclear power, goes to war with Ukraine. I was rest assured indeed, I've read this in the Bible before. Surely the end has come upon us. Inquisitive me started studying Bible prophecy, being even convinced we were in the seal judgment and that doomsday has begun. Few months later, inflation hits. I'm like, this is interesting. Surely that black horse it's riding, huh? 2023 comes, and the September 23rd theory comes around again, fully convinced this was the time. Delving as deep into scripture to justify my beliefs, which were all affirmed. Learning the cross event was between 30 AD to 32 AD, but impatient me will always look at the close possibility. September 23rd goes by. Nothing happens once again for the third time in history. Scoffers get to throw a party again. Believers grow weary, but still find strength in the Lord to keep watching. 2 weeks go by. We all then wake up to October 7th. Israel declares war on Hamas, Palestine. The end time bells rung again, saddened believers filled with hope, knowing what follows the war. A year goes by, nothing happens. What? All these things and still nothing. How? Are we hallucinating, or is God just dangling a carrot in front of us only to pull it away when we try to chew on it? Notwithstanding all the eclipses and signs in the sky over the ruling nation, but still nothing. The bell rings in the head. What are we waiting for? 2024 coming to an end, the ruling nation holds an election. A once ruling figure comes back to power, called Trump. Looking back to 2017 during this leader's first term, God gives believers a sign in heaven, promising to save them from the pending apocalypse. However, we not knowing how long it will take until the redemption event following the sign would occur, we continued to speculate. Fast forward 7 years later, this Trump figure comes out back in office and all his policies screams, time is up. He even claims he will take Gaza and own it. Once again, speculations go forth again, but with different dates.
Will the promise of the Revelation 12 sign be fulfilled on the 8th anniversary this time? Or it's going to be a nothing burger? The number 8 means resurrection and rebirth. Alas, will we be leaving in the next 5 months at the time of scripting this video? Surprisingly, the 8th anniversary falls on the same Feast of Trumpet Day in 2017. But what makes this year stand out is that it falls on all the predictive programming days that were shown in movies that led to the September 23rd, 2015 theory. September 22nd, September 23rd, and September 24th. Alas, will we be leaving? Subscribe to find out in the next series of videos. Indeed, at long last the battle has ended.